All right, the guest is on his way. It is now just Don and Susan and me and you. Let's talk a little about this race. I just want to relay a couple thoughts from Tim Burchett after the Supreme Court decision that struck down Roe v. Wade and sent abortion laws basically to the states. He said, "We believe life begins at inception. We're not going to yield to punks like Antifa who would get in our face. The Lord will bless us for our stance." And then he walked out of the Capitol building that morning of the decision and said, "It's a great day in America. It's a good day for this country." So that was just regarding that decision. As I say, Don and Susan, your thoughts about this race and what issues make a difference, and does Mark Harmon have a chance at all?
So I'll start because I think it'll be easier for Susan to answer that question. It's going to be very difficult for Mark to get a lot of traction. He will get some. The gap is closing, but historically, this district, the 2nd District, has been Republican since the Civil War. I will point out that after the Civil War, the Republicans looked a lot more like today's Democrats than today's Republicans, but nonetheless, it has been GOP held since then. Tim is still popular amongst the bases, but as the blue fringes grow within Knoxville and then out into the suburbs, you're going to see this race tighten. It's tough for Mark to win, but it'd sure be nice to see somebody win and somebody in there that when they posted social media, it just wasn't negative and griping about the other guy versus what is Tim going to do?
Ms. Williams?
Well, Don's right. It'd be very difficult for Mark Harmon to run. I think almost impossible, I would say that. Tim is incredibly popular in Knox County and also out in our rural areas. You know, Don talked about the city being blue now, and it certainly is. And we did see in the August elections more Democrats vote than have traditionally voted in the past. I'm not sure what happened. I think Republicans just didn't have a lot of races that they were excited about. So they didn't turn out as well as they would. Hopefully they will turn out in November. But yeah, Tim's got a very strong base of support. He's a great legislator for this district. We're all Republican counties by and large in his district. So he's going to win by a very comfortable margin.
And as I mentioned earlier in the show, this district is not just Knox County, which one could argue is a lot more urbanized. You've got Loudoun, Blount, Claiborne, right. Jefferson, Granger, more rural, more conservative, probably disinclined.
They're all very strong Republican counties.
Right. So what about money as well? I just happened to look at the FEC filings now. They're only current up through mid-July. We don't see new ones yet, but cash on hand at that point for Burchett was $855,000 and Mark Harmon was $13,419. Is money going to help? Won't hurt.
Well, it certainly never hurts. That is a significant difference. Tim has been able to raise a lot of money during the off season, and he's got support from your financial giants here in this district, and has a very comfortable amount of money to run. Mark, that's really a low amount of money for a congressional race. I think the previous, Don, you might remember this, but I think the previous races, the candidate raised what, 100,000 or so, maybe 200,000?
Yeah, I would say wait on Mark's next filing. I think it will go up fairly significantly. I don't know how much, but you know, Mark is very much a populist, small donor candidate. And you're right, though, money matters. But Mark had a great line earlier. You know, there's strategy and there's service. And Tim certainly has strategy down. He will not debate Mark because, frankly, Mark will kill Tim in a debate. And if I were Tim, I wouldn't go either. But it's bad for the public. And unfortunately, Mark has not had to fundraise on this level ever. And hopefully he can get enough to get some attention. This is a long process. Mark may not be the first Democratic candidate in 150 years out of here, but we're inching towards the possibility of another at some point in our lifetimes, and that would be nice to see.
Would he be as mean as Don Bosch or meaner?
Oh, let's hope he's not quite as mean and a little smarter.
Just a couple seconds left in this block. Any other things we want to talk about with this particular race? We'll see Burchett make some appearances, I guess, probably only just kind of party related.
Yeah, well, they've been in session, this week, and
Sure.
I'm sure that was a consideration why he couldn't be on the show. But Tim, it's not like Tim is hiding out. He's home all the time. He attends almost every event in this city and county, so he's out. We all know who Tim Burchett is.
He's out, but he'll never face Mark. Write it down. He will never be in the same room with Mark Harmon debating him on substantive issues. He won't do it on social media, and he won't do it one-on-one.
He doesn't need to, Don. He doesn't need to.
Again, strategy versus service.
All right,
said,
well,
Mark Harmon.
that addresses that race. We have to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about why the governor of Florida came to East Tennessee, and you'll enjoy the discussion. We're going to be back in a second.